is Marcel Kintscher. I'm a sales engineering consultant, and I have been 8+ years in data and AI. And I'm helping I'm helping to link Calibo's platform engineering approach to tangible business value.
Calibo is a Powered by Snowflake partner, and the whole team at Calibo is really proud of this partnership, as it means that we can jointly help companies to accelerate their data and digital transformation. This presentation today will be focusing on the Tasty Bites example organization. And Tasty Bites, assuming that it's working like an enterprise organization, they will find themselves in a similar ecosystem, similar to what we see in the screen. So when we think of enterprises, typically they strive for productivity and excellence. And they have teams focusing on topics like productivity, predictability, governance, and monitoring. And as we mentioned, people are involved in enterprises, so enterprises have to bring together different stakeholders and manage the interests of different stakeholders, like partners, citizen developers, business people, and technologists. And typically when we look into the development cycle in enterprise organizations for software products, for digital applications, data applications, then they often follow non-standardized processes. And many of those processes around the ideation, design, development, deployment of applications are actually run more or less ad hoc. Additionally, companies have to deal with a very complex technology ecosystem. So many SaaS technologies, many on-prem and hybrid and cloud technologies are being used and leveraged in organizations in order to develop data and digital applications. And ultimately, many very diversified, very important base systems are used and leveraged by enterprise organizations to cover whole business areas like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday, and SAP. And those systems are basically by their nature trapping a lot of very valuable information that the company really needs to derive insights across these systems and across functions and across departments to gain very crucial insights to stay ahead of the competition. And so that leads to challenges and needs of an organization like Tasty Bites, right? They want to be fast. They want to find a way to manage an explosion of technology. They're currently seeing that applications are built here and there. People are starting to use SaaS applications, different tools, and the tech stack is becoming increasingly complex to manage. In the same time, they see still a lack of automation. Especially when we look into the development process, many repetitive tasks, many unreused assets that are being built that could be reused, but the tools or processes are not in place to reuse them and make the process more efficient. And ultimately, this all leads to a very, very complex software delivery process, especially if we're also looking into topics like compliance, or security, internet security. Obviously, every application has to meet those standards defined by the company and make the software delivery process even more complex. If you look into the personas involved in the data and digital transformation at an organization like Tasty Bites, then we have business owners who are very interested in getting their ideas to the market, out to the market faster. So getting from an idea to a working product, they want to see that happening in weeks and not months. Then if we talk about citizen and professional developers, so those people who are actually developing those applications that the business needs or that the customers want, then those have to deal with many, many tools and technologies. And being a full stack developer is a really, really hard job today, because you have so many different technologies you could be using and companies are using in this process to manage different, very specific areas of this delivery process. And then we have technology executives who obviously are very interested in keeping the organization lean and driving productivities in the development process of those applications. And ultimately, we have cloud tools and security owners, so those people who are actually building the foundation, who are actually providing the environment to business users and citizen and professional developers to jointly develop applications for the organization. Now at Calibo, we know that two complexities are omnipresent in every enterprise. We have huge technology ecosystems which are across this process of delivering applications or new digital products from ideation through development, through deployment, and ultimately observing and monitoring those solutions. The technology ecosystems are becoming increasingly complex. The second complexity is around processes involved along, again, these different stages of the development process. Many approvals are needed, many people are involved, and obviously the process aspect of this is also equally important and equally complex as the technology aspect. So at Calibo, we have built an open integration layer that can connect to any of those technologies across the whole development cycle. And in order to orchestrate those technologies and leverage every single technology's benefits throughout the development process, from define through design, develop, deploy, and ultimately to be monitoring those solutions that you are building. And it brings together all those personas that we just talked about. So the product managers being in the business analysts being between data and the business, professional and citizen developers, and also the people who are managing the surrounding and underlying infrastructure topics. And so having all these personas working together in one platform makes it possible for an organization to create products, and with that I mean data products and digital applications much faster. And we call this the self-service development platform, which consists of three main products: the product release orchestration engine, the integrated developer portal, and the data pipeline studio. So let's now jump into Calibo and actually look at the Tastybytes use case, leveraging all of Tastybytes data in order to build their first data and digital applications for internal but also external use, and how they would be doing it with the Calibo platform much more efficiently than without. And with that, I'm logged into the Calibo platform, and this is typically the first screen that you would be seeing. And normally when we onboard customers to the platform, then we start off by connecting their tech stack to the platform. And that is to be done inside the environment provisioning area. So if we go in here, then typically what you want to do first is to connect Calibo to your AD solution, like for example, Microsoft Active Directory. And by that, we can actually onboard we can streamline the user onboarding, and having all those users onboarded to the platform, we can start assigning roles as well as creating teams for the further development activities in the platform. The next step is very crucial and very unique as well to the Calibo platform, since we are not only an ELT platform, we're not only allowing companies to build data pipelines, we are a whole self-service development platform end to end, which means that we first of all connect to any cloud platform that a company is using. For example, if a company like an enterprise organization is using AWS and Azure, you can connect both of those platforms in here. Second, you would be defining your technology and tool set, and in there you have many options from different categories to choose from. We're going to see later that Calibo can connect to open source technologies, or it can integrate with open source technologies as well as its own native functionalities. But the underlying goal is always to leverage the technologies that are already there. So the amount of native capabilities inside the Calibo platform is actually quite limited. It's very much more about the orchestration of all those technologies together. Now, since we are an end-to-end self-service development platform, we also integrate with CI/CD pipeline automation tools like Jenkins, as well as deployment technologies, Kubernetes, OpenShift containers, Terraform configuration. We also integrate with any source code repository like GitLab, for example. Agile planning tools like Jira and document management tools are really important on the project and product management and documentation side of it. And then also, of course, and this is obviously the main and most important aspect to you guys, is we can connect with many different databases and data sources. And for example, cloud data warehouses like Snowflake play a really important role in companies' data platforms today. And obviously there are many native integrations from Calibo to Snowflake that we will see later on when we start building some data pipelines. that come in really handy here. So all of these integrations are being set up in this section, and after that is done, there's typically one more thing that you definitely want to do and see right now, and that's called policy templates. And so with policy templates, if we are going into one of those, then we can see the 4Ds again. So as we saw earlier, Calibo supports teams and organizations along the whole development cycle of data and digital applications, and we do that through those 4 stages: define, design, develop, and deploy. And so for any of those stages, you want to define the technologies and processes to be used by a development team, so that later on you can assign this policy template to a product or a whole product portfolio. And that means that the development team will automatically only be able to self-provision those technologies that you allow here. So when we, for example, look into the develop tab, then we can see that every one of those technologies has a check mark because we originally enabled them in the platform setup section. But in here, we can see that some of them are highlighted with a blue frame, and those are the ones that are going to be made available later on in the development process. Good. So let's actually jump back to here and assume that Tasty Bytes organization has now set up their Calibo platform and are ready to go ahead and develop their first products. Typically what they would do is to first create a new digital portfolio. And by the way, you can rename those things. So digital portfolio is just how we call it right now. If you want to call this like a product roadmap or whatever it is, product portfolio, you can rename that in the settings and configuration section as well. Now let's go into this digital portfolio that has been created for Tasty Bytes and is also reflecting some of the strategic goals that the company has set themselves. And then if we look into products, there's a first product that we created in here, and if we expand the description here a little bit, then we can see that what we want to build is actually some kind of insight tool, let's say a dashboard, that allows truck drivers to see their sales performance and basically derive some really important insights that can help them to drive their sales up in the future and achieve those strategic goals that the company has decided to work on. Then also we want to increase the retention rate of existing customers by proactively predicting customers that could churn. So that will also involve some kind of machine learning capabilities in here as well, using the data and hopefully the data sitting in Snowflake. Then next is to be identifying right locations to the drivers based on also potential sales that they can make at these locations. Then we want to have a customer-facing application which allows the customer to find some menu options recommended to them based on the current location. And last but not least, we want some forecast or demand forecast so that the drivers can maintain stock of all the ingredients so they never risk to run out. Okay, if we go into this product now, then we can see some features that have been created in here. And we can see that they carry different colors, which are actually representing different releases. So the product owner, most probably the product owner, would be also in the same time the project manager. And the product owner would try to align the release of this new product with the company release plan. And so that is where release trains come in. And if we go through the dashboard here quickly and then to the Tasty Bytes digital portfolio, then we can see the release timeline of this one at the top. And we can see that there's a first release here set for October 3rd, which contains a lot of features regarding building the data pipeline first. So first we need to actually extract data from various different data sources and put it into Snowflake, do some transformation and data quality steps on it before we then can make it available for any kind of custom app development as well as BI and dashboard development on top. So this is the first release, and then actually in the second release, that is the part where the custom app as well as the dashboard for truck drivers is going to be developed. So going back here and then focusing on the first release for now, let's jump into one of those features here actually. and see how that would work. So starting off working on one of those features, you can find again the 4Ds here, right? So the define, design, development, deploy. And typically you would assign a development team to this feature as well. And remember that when the product owner has created this portfolio and then this product, they also assigned the right policy template to this, which means that the development team will automatically use the right tech stack that the company has decided to use. So let's go into the define stage actually. This is typically where the product owner will work with the business to understand the requirements and create some of those user stories. And given a very handy integration between Jira and Calibo, you can actually go ahead here and search for additional user stories that you can then link and add here. And then they will be automatically visible to the development team for further development activities. And they don't even have to leave the Calibo platform to understand what the business requirements are. And if they would ever have to do it to maybe update the status of the ticket, they could just click there and be redirected to Jira right away. So let's assume this has been done already, and the next stage would be the design stage, where typically the solution architects come in and create those design artifacts, which the development team can then take ahead and use it to guide their development work. So the solution architect can attach here some UX mockups, some technical architectures as well, and it will automatically be synchronized with Confluence. So many enterprises are using Confluence as kind of like a knowledge management platform or a documentation platform, and whatever assets are being attached to this feature inside of Calibo, this will automatically be added to a Confluence environment as a page, and you can add the documentation from here as well. Great, so now we get to the very interesting stage, the development stage. So let's say all of the pre-discussion with the business has been done and the requirements have been defined. Now the business, the product owner, the solution architect, they will also have access to this section, but they will not spend much time in here because that's the area of the territory of the developers as well as the data engineers. So let's start off by we're here in the franchise loyalty location data flows. So those are some tables that we have to extract from some source systems. And for that, we will have to build a data pipeline, scraping that data from the source systems, putting it into Snowflake, doing some data quality and data cleansing on top of it, before we then make it available for analytics with some custom transformation on top as well. So that we do in the Data Pipeline Studio, and actually here we have already a working and fully implemented data pipeline. This would be empty, and you would have to start from scratch if you wanted to create this first. But let's go through this, how this works. So you start off by defining your data sources, and you can use data crawlers to literally crawl data from any data source. It can be an RDBMS, it can be a SaaS application, it can be a cloud storage, it can be a file server, whatever it is. You can connect to it and define it as a data source node. Next, you want to actually set up some kind of data transfer jobs. And for this, Calibo integrates, for example, with Databricks, allowing you to leverage the Databricks compute engines to create quick data transfer jobs, moving data from, for example, a MySQL database into an S3 bucket so that you can later ingest it into Snowflake. So when the data is sitting in the S3 bucket, you can literally just very simply set up a Snowflake integration job. If we look at this one, how this is configured, typically you start off by providing a name and then the source will automatically be defined. I'm going a step back here again because when you create such a pipeline, typically the nodes are connected to each other. So when you create a new node, like for example, a new stream ingest or bulk ingest job here, then you would connect them with each other and also the target node. and that will automatically define the source for this in the configuration section for this integration job. So I'm going to delete that in here and go back to the non-edit mode and actually look into one of those integration jobs again. So when we open this one, then we can see that the source is automatically defined by connecting the nodes with each other. And also the landing stage, some things will automatically be defined thanks to the connection to the target node, but others will still have to be created. So for example, you will have to select the stage name for the S3. So the stage that is actually going to be created by Calibo inside your Snowflake account automatically as you deploy this data pipeline later. And then also the stream, that's the same thing. Then the target table, you have to select this one and decide the operation type. Is it an append, overwrite, or merge? And lastly, you will also have to select the storage integration, which by the way will have to be set up first in Snowflake. But that's really the only thing that has to be created in Snowflake first, as it requires some security aspects to it as well. Okay, so the next stage is actually the data sitting in Snowflake now, and we want to do some data quality checks on this. So what we have inside of Calibo is three main data quality features. One is the data analyzer, the next is the data profiler, and then we have the issue resolver. So if we look into an analyzer job here as an example, then we can see it's the same thing again. We provide a name, we select the source, and then we define a few constraints. So really what we want to do is here on this table is to check for completeness in all of the columns. So none of these columns should be empty, for example. And in the next step, we can then define the output table that we want to output, or that where we want to save the results of this analyzer job. So whatever your compliance requirements are, you could really well use the data analyzer here to check on those requirements as part of your data pipeline, and then save the results in a data quality schema, for example, in an extra table on this, on this data asset that you're building. Okay, so the next one you want to do is maybe you want to, clean some data, change some data, adjust some data. So that is when you would use the issue resolver job. And again, it's the same thing. You provide a name, and then you have really a lot of features. So you have to, of course, define the table first, and then you can, use a unique column table, a unique key column table to manage deduplication. You can change the partitioning order. You can handle missing data, handle outliers, handle string operation, handle case sensitivity. Also, you can replace existing values with other values if you need to. So there are a whole lot of features available in here that allow you to do some actual changes on the data as part of the data pipeline, without having to write any SQL code, by the way. Which comes in really handy. And again, any changes that you make can also be saved in another table if you want to, in order to keep track of the history as well. Okay, and then ultimately we're actually ready to put this cleans data into some kind of unification lake. So that is basically just another schema or database schema combination in your Snowflake account, where you want to be storing the cleans and data quality check data. Now, when this data pipeline is actually ready, you can run it and you can then review some of the details in here as well. So any step inside your data pipeline will be listed here, and you will get information about how many records have been processed, how long this step took to run, as well as links to actually the underlying asset or the underlying object inside your Snowflake account. And then last thing I want to show here is that you also have or get access to some kind of dashboards. So this pipeline hasn't run often, but let's actually go into one other product. Let's see. Okay, so this has run a few times and gives you some quick overview about potential failures that happened, how often it has been executed, how many changes from dev to QA or QA to production you had in the past weeks. So really, some very key insights in regards to data operations as well. Good. Okay, so the job of a data engineer is pretty much done here. So let's go into the product again, and now focus on what would happen after you build such a pipeline. Just to get the data prepared and made available for any analytics as well as app development, for example. So that is really when we enter the next release. So all of the data pipelines, let's assume they have been released in the first release. Now we're working on the next release, which is actually the dashboard for the truck owners, as well as the customer-facing application. Again, all user stories have already been defined. Maybe some design assets have been created. Let's jump into the develop stage right away. Now, I go back into the data pipeline here, because first you might have to do some additional data transformation to make your data available for analytics, build some views for your dashboards and so on. And typically this will be done by an analytics engineer. So someone who's really taking those last steps before the data is being visualized or used in applications. And this is where you can create some good transformation jobs on top of your data in Snowflake, for example. And actually anything that you define in here will automatically be hosted in your code repository. So in this case, it is a GitLab account, and any SQL script that you create in here will be stored in there. And then you have many options. You can create some simple joins using some click and clack options, or you can also define custom queries that do the job for you. So let's assume that you've done some transformation and made the data available in some kind of the analytics lake or analytics layer inside your Snowflake account. Now, as we know, the first thing that we wanted to do is to actually build an application not build an application, but build a dashboard for the truck drivers or the franchise owners to drive sales, to keep their customer base, or better, to increase their customer base, to never run out of stock, all these kind of things. And so, the BI tool that we use in here is ClickSense, but you could replace this with Power BI, with Tableau. So take whatever BI tool you have, and you can publish the data as a data source to the dashboard and connect the node in here. So this has a configured data source. Data is coming from Snowflake, and that is linked with, for example, some pre-configured apps created inside of ClickSense. So if I click here on viewing ClickSense, then that takes me to ClickSense and the actual app. I will probably have to first log in here. And I'm opening the sales monitoring report. All right, so this ClickSense app is directly connected to our Snowflake analytics layer and is using all the data that has been basically made available to us, the data consumers. And this would then be the dashboard that's presented to franchise owners to manage their business. So let's assume we are a franchise owner in Vancouver. And, we're probably David Johnson. And, okay, we only have one truck, it seems. And we want to know what the sales were in all of 2021. Okay, so what we get here is like a few high-level KPIs. Our total income has been quite impressive, actually, for one food truck, I would say. Total locations visited, also quite impressive for one city, to be honest. And then some total order completed, got it. And then we can clearly see an upward trend in our sales as well, which is great. Now, for example, what we want to see here is actually an income by location. Let's sort this one by income and check out, yeah, the Tesla service center. I know where that is, and indeed, that's a pretty popular place. Good, so then next one, menu items sold. So what were actually our, top menu items? It looks like it's iced tea, bottled soda, bottled water. Looks like we're selling a lot of drinks there, which is interesting. So, what we could see from this is, yeah, we want to keep those iced tea, bottled soda, bottled water in stock for sure, as this is our highest selling product. Now, other location recommendations, let's actually look at which location they will recommend with the predicted outcome of it. We can clearly see Tesla Center again, and also the time at which, basically between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. This is the best location to be at. So let's make sure we're always there. And then some popular menu recommendation as well. So I would not be surprised if this is iced tea, bottled soda, and bottled water again. So, some very crucial insights here to manage your business and get some tracks on how you can improve your sales as a franchise owner. Good, let's jump back into Snowflake actually. Okay, so we've seen now how you would probably build, or connect your data pipeline to a ClickSense dashboard as an example. Now, maybe the next thing we want to do is have a customer churn prediction dashboard as well. And for that, we would need some kind of machine learning model. So as you can see, there is an additional node here, which is called data analytics, and this contains a Jupyter Lab notebook. And if you add this one, if you want to add such a technology to your data pipeline, that is really easy. Okay, so what you do is change this to edit mode, and then just add a node and click on add. And that will automatically add a new technology to your data pipeline. And from here, you can right away start coding. If you click start coding, that opens a Jupyter Lab notebook, which I don't have access to at the moment. But you can right away get started with the development and then synchronize the source code with your repository, and Calibo will pick that up from your repository and actually include it into the data pipeline right away. So that data is the output of that machine learning model is actually put back into Snowflake and then later on used in the ClickSense dashboard as well. Now, another custom application that we built here is more like a customer-facing applications I want to show you guys, which consists of a backend technology for which we've used Java, as well as a front-end technology built in React. And so again, the process would be the same. You add a node here, define the technology, and that adds this node right away. And from here, I think I can show you guys how the integrated, or not, sorry about that. So how the integrated developer environment would look like. Let's go into this one. There are two actually. You can decide to use VS Code or Lather, Thea, which is another one. And from there, you can right away get your development process started. This is working pretty much like a standard IDE, which is just hosted in the browser. And from there, you can start the coding of your application by pulling data or pulling the code from your source code repository. And in there, you will see that some source code template is already existing there. So as we can see in this source code repository, that there are already a few files created just by selecting that technology. And those are templates that you can start from, which save you as a developer a lot of time. You don't have to create all these files again that you need anyways every time you're using this technology to build an application. And so from the IDE, you would then write your code and push it back to your source code repository. And as I mentioned, Calibo will pick it up. And then what you want to do from there is, of course, your application won't be working unless it's deployed on a virtual machine on some kind of server. So that is when you want to go to the deploy stage. Right? And so in here, that's really the last stage of our development process. Again, it's super easy to get your infrastructure spun up and to install your application on a server. You just click on add instance, define or choose from the instances that, by the way, have also been defined in the policy template in the beginning. And then you, after spinning or after selecting one of those instances, you will then have to configure this. And this is, some kind of machine inside your cloud platform, like for example AWS. You have to provide a bit of configuration in here, and then you can start installing your technology on it as well. And after that, you click deploy, and the application, actually based on its technology, will run through a previously defined set of steps as part of your CI/CD pipeline automation. And so these steps can be defined in your Jenkins integration, as well as part of the policy template in the beginning, and those steps will always be passed automatically before the application gets actually deployed to the server, to the internet, to be used later on. So now let's actually see, for one of the applications that we build, let's actually see how this app looks like. So remember, this one is the customer-facing application, right? And so let's assume that we are, a customer in Cape Town. We're currently in Cape Town City. We're interested in some Chinese food, a hot option. Click apply, and we get a recommended location right away, alongside with a pricing range here as well. And this is a nice way how Tasty Bites can also encourage their customers and help their customers actually to find nice locations to get their lunch today. And this is just another application helping Tasty Bites to increase their sales and reach their global objectives. Okay, a lot of talking, a lot of actually demoing inside the Calibo platform. Let's go ahead here and summarize what we've seen. So we've seen how the infrastructure architects would first of all set up the platform to enable self-service infrastructure provisioning. So by connecting Calibo to your tech stack, by creating the policy template and assigning it to the product portfolio or a product, you enable your developers to self-provision the technologies that they need to seamlessly create the applications. Next, we've seen how the product owners would go in and create digital portfolios, define products, define features, and also orchestrate the feature release with the company release plan through release trains. And then we've seen how solution architects can come in and actually attach their design assets, architectural diagrams to the products as well, which is their knowledge management platform, for example. And then from there, the development team will take the work on and typically start off with some data pipelining. You first of all need to gather the data from different places, develop your pipelines, test them, deploy them, and then make data available for analysts as well as app developers later. And we've seen how data scientists can come in and actually build machine learning models on top of the data pipeline and integrate their machine learning model, deploy it, and then integrate with the data pipeline so that it's becoming part of this whole orchestration engine and can also be governed within the same environment. And lastly, we've seen how developers then can build their custom applications as well as BI applications and dashboards on top of the data and integrate even those with the Calibo platform. So overall, we've seen a few really handy features, like for example, the self-service infrastructure provisioning. We've seen the product management capabilities, integration with Jira and Confluence. We've seen release orchestration, being able to synchronize your product release with the company release calendar. We've seen no-code data pipeline development. Remember, Calibo is really not just a data pipelining platform. It's much more than that. Data pipeline orchestration. You can put your pipelines on a schedule. You can set up notifications as well. You have whole dashboards, whole intelligence around your data pipelines in the DataOps Studio. And then ultimately, we've seen the efficient app development with the integrated IDE, with the integration with your GitLab repository, and then the CI/CD automation using Jenkins, really handy. So which saves the developers a lot of repetitive activities. So all of these results really are impressive when we talk about our customers so far, they are seeing a 50% faster time to market for data and digital applications. They see 40% productivity gains as well, being able to create more applications in a year, and then ultimately also being able to reduce your cost on cloud technology, on different technologies by just identifying and acting on rationalization potential, as well as reusing. You can save your data pipeline as a template and then reuse it later, so that you can also save a lot of steps of having to rebuild it. And by the way, not having to write any code as well saves you a lot of time and also reduces cost on labor. So don't just trust my words. Calibo has been mentioned over 10 times over the last 12 months. And especially in the reports about innovation insight for self-service development platforms, as well as cloud-native application development platforms. Calibo has been mentioned at the very top as leader inside those areas. And if you're looking into the future, by 2025, Gartner is predicting that 75% of organizations will somehow provide self-service developer portals to their people. And Calibo really wants to be the one go-to platform for those companies. Speaking about the offering modes of Calibo, so we have one which we call the buyer mode. This is the bring your own license mode. Typically, when we talked about this Tastybytes use case, that is what we did here. So we assume Tastybytes already has an existing tech stack, and now they want to connect that tech stack to the Calibo platform in order to orchestrate it. The other version is what we call the fully managed platform as a service. And in there, since we have all these great integrations to the best of breed tools and technologies in the market, we can just provide a tech stack out of the box to those who don't have it yet. So thank you very much for spending the last 40 minutes with me. I really appreciate your time and interest in Calibo. If you have any ideas, any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And I hope you find this useful. I hope to be speaking to you again soon. Wish you all a great day. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out. Cheers.